is an interactive demo showing a visualization of the Octree algorithm. Before explaining to you all the details we see here, let's take a look at an example in 2D instead. So let me explain how the algorithm works in 2D using this beautiful drawing. So let's imagine that we have this scene around here and we have our marble just touching the square right there. So looks like we will have a lot of collision checks to do because we have to check with every shapes in the scene to know with what the shapes we are colliding with. But using the Quadtree algorithm, we can remove most of those checks and just not do them entirely. And how it does it is that instead of checking all collision possibilities, we are dividing the space in 4 quadrants. So let's draw our quadrants right there. So now we can eliminate a lot of collision check. All the shapes in here, we don't have to check them at all because we know our marble is not in this quadrant. So we have like a dozen collision check we can simply not do. We only have to check the shapes that are in this quadrant. But this algorithm is actually recursive, so it will do that again to remove even more checks. So instead of checking with all of the shapes in this quadrant, it will divide space in 4 again. And now we have even less checks to do. We only have 2 of them. Technically, we could stop here because there's not a lot of checks, but we can also divide even further and do that. Oh, it's a bit, yeah. And do that. And now we can see that we are only left with 1 collision check to do. And if we're doing this 1 check, we'll see that we have collision, but we did only 1, 2, 3 overlap tests with the space divisions, and we eliminated dozens of potential collision checks to do. And now let's go back to 3D. What you see here is the exact same thing I showed you in 2D, but now instead of square quadrants, we have cubes. And also, since we're adding 1 dimension, we need 8 cubes instead of 4 squares. The red cubes with the white borders you see here represent where the algorithm is descending into to narrow down the amount of collision checks to do. And the tiles that appears in green are the output of the algorithm and the tiles that are potentially overlapping with the marble. Now let's take a look at what the algorithm is doing while we're moving the marble around. It may happen, like right now, that the marble is in between the border of 2 cubes. To include all potential collision, the algorithm must go into 2 different cubes at the same time. Also, in this case, there's a limit on how much the Octree will divide itself. Here we set a threshold of 8 elements inside a single cube before dividing it further. This is to avoid having the cost of the algorithm being higher than the cost of simply checking the collision 1 by 1. We can really see this in effect when I'm going to a region with much lower tile density. That's it for explanation. Let's roll the music and enjoy the visualization.